Tracy will guide you through a classic one-length or solid form haircut. Jeanette has medium to thick density and straight texture. She has a depth of a level 4 and a warm skin tone.
I'm Tracy Hughes from Mika Hairdressing and Tracy Hughes Education in Australia. It's my pleasure to share with you today a classic one-length solid form haircut. This is my beautiful model Jeanette, who has the most amazing, gorgeous, healthy long hair. A one-length solid form haircut is a classic technique. It's executed with simplicity. However, it's important to really focus on technique and mastering the art of precision. During this tutorial, what you're going to learn today is how to create a perfect solid line with zero elevation, no graduation and no layering. We'll be going through the sectioning pattern, working with diagonal forward sections and working with combing the hair down, so you will actually learn how to work with comb control as well today. Some of the important considerations to take into account when working on this particular technique is working with consistent tension and minimal amount of tension on the hair as well. It's also very important to focus on working with the natural fall of the hair too when working on a one-length solid haircut. Now, another important crucial part to take into account is your body position when working on this particular haircut. Not also your own body position, but the body position of your client as well. So I'm going to be working today with Jeanette standing up, so that way I can make sure I'm working on eye level. When we're working on this one length line, we need to make sure we can see the accuracy of the result in that design line. So to begin the haircut, the first thing we need to do is find the natural falling position for the natural parting. So start by combing the hair backwards. As we comb the hair backwards, we will hold the hair between our fingers. Using your fingers, push the hair forward slightly and see where it separates naturally. So as you can see, it will separate into one specific area. This is your natural falling position. This will create your parting, and particularly when working on a one-length haircut, it's crucial to work with the natural falling position. Once you've found your parting, comb the hair through thoroughly into that natural fall.
Tracy then continues from the natural parting in a slight curve to the nape, as the natural parting is slightly off centre. Tracy locates the centre point of the head, the apex, using the comb in two directions. Tracy sections across the head from the tip of each ear, dissecting the head at the crown across the apex. Tracy takes a horizontal section in the nape.
To begin our section, we go from the natural parting that we've already determined. Continuing through from the natural parting, we then take a vertical section running through the centre back. Splitting the hair then into 4 quadrants, we need to find the highest point on the head. So we can do this by placing the comb in both directions and finding the highest spot on the top of the head. This is where then you will determine to take your vertical section down through to the back of the ears on both sides. The finished sectioning will then be into 4 quadrants. To begin the actual haircut, we start in the nape area. So taking horizontal sections from the centre vertical section. We part the hair horizontally across on both sides and secure the unwanted hair out of the way. So to continue working through the rest of the haircut, we use the same sectioning pattern. So working through with horizontal sections, we'll continue this through the back area of the head. So using horizontal sections, keeping your sections approximately 1 centimetre wide. The reason why we keep our sections so small is this will enable us to see our guideline clearly. As we progress through to the top of the head, our sections will then continue through to the side area. The reason why we choose to do this is we can comb the hair into its natural fall so it falls over the shoulder. This will enable us to maintain a square line through the perimeter. As we continue, we will then be taking our sections from the back area through to the sides. We will continue working up through the side area until the remaining top section, where we will focus on working with the natural fall position of the hair. It's really important when you're working through with your sections to maintain that consistency in the size of the section, and the consistency is how accurately you're working up the head as well. This will enable the distribution of each section to be even throughout the whole haircut. Then we also need to focus on the same consistent tension throughout the haircut as well, with a minimal amount of tension being placed on the hair. This will enable us to create a perfect solid line. There are 2 ways to actually approach the technique when cutting a 1-length solid form haircut. The first will be to use your comb. By resting your comb to the desired length, we can then rest our blades against our comb. This is what I will be demonstrating for you today. This particular technique will place the minimum amount of tension on the hair to make sure that we gain a perfect solid line. Alternatively, you may choose to hold the hair between your fingers to cut your design line. When choosing to do work between your fingers, you need to focus on creating minimal amount of graduation. So you need to maintain your fingers resting against the body. And this is also a really good technique to use when working on curly hair. Curly hair does require that little bit more tension, and if you're working with purely your comb, you would not create enough tension. So using your fingers is an ideal option for curly hair. Whichever method that you choose to work with, whether it be using your comb or using your fingers, maintain that same technique throughout the whole haircut. You then may choose to cross-check or just have another look at your line using the opposite technique. So for example, if you're working with your comb, you may choose just to take a second look with your fingers. But to stay on the same technique throughout the whole haircut will maintain even distribution in your tension.
Once sectioned, Tracy stands Jeanette to place her initial guideline. She ensures her model is standing equally between 2 feet, with her hands gently placed on the back of the chair for stability. This is so that Tracy's eyeline is in line with her guideline. Tracy combs the hair to its natural fall, assessing as she works using the fine teeth of the comb. Tracy combs down with the fine teeth of the comb, holds the hair with 0 degrees elevation, uses the comb as a guide and cuts a square line with loose tension. Tracy uses the entire width of the scissors for a clean, solid line. It is important to create weight in this first section, as it is your outline and guide for the rest of the cut. Tracy then checks and refines her balance. Tracy then seats Jeanette for comfort. Tracy will be creating her sections with her model seated and cutting with her standing. Tracy takes a parallel horizontal section, combs the hair to the guide and cuts a square line with the same process. Please note, Tracy is mindful to cut exactly to her guideline. Tracy continues with parallel sections working up the head with the same process. Again, Tracy is mindful of even loose tension, no elevation, and of cutting onto her initial guideline.
As we progress through the haircut, we continue working up through the centre back area. Once we reach the higher part of the back, we then continue our sections through to the sides. So the reason we choose to continue our sections through to the side area is so we can allow for the hair to fall over the shoulder into the natural falling position. This will give you two reasons. It will help maintain the squareness of the shape in your design line, and it will also help control the density of the hair that's falling down. We need to make sure that the sections are appropriate size so we can actually see that guideline clearly. Due to the hair being finer through the side area than the back area, we need to take this variation in density into account. So as we're progressing through the sides, we need to make sure that the sections are slightly thicker to allow when the hair falls down, that guideline is easily, clearly seen.
Tracy combs the hair and starts in the centre back with loose tension and 0 degrees elevation, following her underneath as a guide, and cuts a square line. Tracy then continues her line into the left side, combing the hair back and over the shoulders down onto the guide. Tracy repeats the same process on the right side. Tracy continues with this process to the crown. She combs the remaining hair in the crown and is mindful to accommodate any natural growth patterns for a solid line.
Now we have the finished haircut here for you. As you can see with the last sections as I was working through the shape, I've allowed for the natural falling position, particularly in the crown area. So working to our natural fall of the parting, just making sure you don't put too much tension through this top area and combing your last sections down. So to recap how we've actually approached the haircut, I've began by splitting into 4 quadrants. So a section through the center back, and then a section from the highest point of the head through to the top of the ears. Beginning the haircut with horizontal sections through both sides of the back area, working with 1 centimeter sections, I've worked it up the head shape. As we get to the top part of the back area, those sections have continued through to the sides to allow for natural fall over the shoulders. Once we've actually blow dried the haircut for you, we'll go through and bring the sides down into their natural fall through here and just round that corner off ever so slightly. We want to retain the squareness in the strength of our 1 length line through the back area. So to blow dry this hair, you have a few different options as to what you can choose. You can choose, for example, to work with a Denman brush or a paddle brush or a round brush. Each will vary depending on the amount of volume you want to create in the blow dry. Ideally, we just want to get a beautiful smooth finish, particularly because we do have very thick hair through here, and then we'll be checking this line once the haircut is dried as well. Essentially, using any of those brushes, the objective is to smooth the cuticle out, so we get a really beautiful polish and finish to the hair.
Tracy then blow dries down the cuticle of the hair with medium heat and appropriate product. Please note, the blow dry should reflect the natural fall of the hair to enhance the 1 length solid form. Tracy then irons to ensure a clean and refined finish. Once the hair is dried, Tracy then refines, accommodating any changes between the wet and dry state. Tracy then combs the hair forward and refines the perimeter edge.
Once the hair is dry, perfectly smooth, it's imperative to go back in and actually check your haircut to refine the line as well. So there's two ways we can approach this. We can do this by combing the hair into its natural fall and resting our comb on the line and checking our line this way. We also have the option, if you have a steady hand, of going back through and just using very small snips and checking your line this way, freehand as well. The objective of what you're actually looking for when checking your line is to make sure there's no unwanted graduation through the underneath section. So that way we get a perfect one length solid form. Now, because we want to keep this line square through the back to keep the strength within the shape, we also need to allow for the work through the sides just to round that corner off to allow for natural fall. So when working through the sides, we allow the hair to fall down into its natural fall, and this will enable us to just round our corner off through the bottom here as well, without losing the squareness and the strength in the outline of the back area. Here we have the beautiful finished result of our one length solid form haircut. As you can see, we have amazing hair to work with. It's perfect for this sort of shape. Keeping the strength in the outline is also very good on fine hair too. So working through, the objectives are to work with zero elevation to maintain that perfect solid line in the outline with no graduation and no layering. So working through with a very simple classic technique, but working through with excellent precision and technique to create a perfect result in the end. Hope you like the finished result.
The final result, a classic one-length solid form, creating a blanket of glossy, healthy looking hair with a strong, dramatic, defined outline edge.